Hey. Wonderful, wonderful Wednesday. Can you hear me now? Cold Calling Podcast. We're back again, season 3. Welcome to episode number 5. I am honored, privileged, and it's my pleasure to be your host, Larry Long Jr., CEO, that's Chief Energy Officer of LLJR Enterprises. Just a reminder, the Cold Calling Podcast is powered. It's sponsored by our great friends at Monster Connect. Roar! Leveraging technology to deliver actual conversations to B2B sellers. Can you hear me now? Is anyone on that other line? Yes, with Monster Connect, we're connecting you with 8 to 12 decision makers every hour. Yes! And our hope is that by you joining us for this podcast is to take you as a sales professional, as a lead generation professional, as a lead generation leader. We want to help you take your game to that next level. Now, today's guest, I should say it's episode number 5. Today's guest is a John Maxwell team leadership coach. She's a trainer. She's a speaker. And I don't have enough microphones to hold the electricity that she brings when she steps up on the screen. She's a procrastination and ADHD life coach focused on helping overwhelmed professionals. That could be you, or it could be me. Overwhelmed. Yeah, sign me up to stop procrastinating in less than 30 days. She does all this so that you can regain your power, conquer avoidance, and achieve your maximum potential. Overall, she's amazing with a diverse background, hailing from Latin America, born in Colombia, South America, coaching at the collegiate level in Australia. Good day, mate. And has experience working globally. Let's put our hands together and give a warm cold calling podcast welcome to Señorita Paty Johnston.
Hola, everybody. Hello. It's so good to be here. I'm super excited. You've said it all.
Paty, you are amazing. We are honored to welcome you, to have you as our guest. I like to kick things off. I like to give you, I'm going to give you the platinum mic with a segment I call Who, What, and Why. Who are you? What do you do? And why do you do it, Paty?
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, this is such a pleasure and an honor to be here. Again, my name is Paty Johnston, and I am a leadership coach. I'm a life coach, and I specialize in procrastination and ADD, ADHD. I created a program called How to Stop Procrastinating in 30 Days. Just because I was born a procrastinator. My favorite word used to be mañana. Oh, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it next week. Oh my goodness, no. Next year is my year. But I felt stuck. I used to know exactly what to do, but I was not doing it. So I discovered that procrastination is not linked to lack of time. We all have time, but procrastination is directly linked to emotions. Procrastination is directly linked to emotions. So I specialized on emotional intelligence, and I grew up in Colombia originally. And I grew up with, my family, my parents are absolutely systematic, very clean, very disciplined. And my sister, she thinks she's perfect, but she's not perfect. She is almost perfect. And I just grew up being the messy one, the distracted one, the one that couldn't do it. So my dad, who is a very good dad, but back then he told me, Paty, you're such a mess. I don't know what's going to happen in your future. I hope you get a good husband because look at you. So I grew up thinking there was something wrong with me. And on top of it all, I got pregnant when I was a teenager. Oh my goodness, Patty, a single mom, you've just ruined your life. So I started working in a job that I didn't like just to survive, paying me not much money. So I started studying about what was happening in my mind. And a lot of the things that were holding me back were my negative feelings, my fear, my overwhelm, my anxiety. So I decided I wanted to change. I started studying about psychology and I created a system that has helped me get unstuck. So when I went from Colombia to the US, my son was 3. I was a single mom working hard, but after I took 30 days for me. I'm like, I'm going to change my life and I'm going to be intentional about it. And I took 30 days to change. And after the 30 days, I thought, you know what? I'm going to open my own business. And I had the savings of my life were $2,000. And somebody said, oh, I'm selling a business for $2,000. I'm like, really? Okay, I'm going to buy it. So I bought the business and I sold it 18 months later, 1.5 years later, for $500,000. I've never thought in my life I was gonna see that much money altogether. An immigrant, single mom with ADD, mild dyslexia, the one that no one thought could amount to anything in life. And I I did it. And then I opened my second business and I sold it for even more money than that.
You got to be kidding me. Come on now.
No.
Wow.
And listen, you know what the funny part is? My dad, who was so critical of me, my second business I sold, and he's like, Patty, I've always believed in you. I'm like, not sure about that. I don't think you did. But, most importantly than get approval from my dad, which was, always in the back of my mind, I I was proud of myself. And that's how I decided to live the life that, like I knew I had this much potential. And I was like in a 40%, God given potential. And I'm like, why? Why am I not where I know I could be? And so I decided to work on my emotions that were really, really holding me back. And that's what I do today. I share my own system with people that have ADD, that battle with fear, anxiety, overwhelm, that know they could be in a different place, but don't know how to get there. So I hold their hands for 30 days and I help them to make things happen because dreams are great, but dreams without action, it's nothing. So I teach them how to actually take action and be where they need to be with the how to stop
Wow.
procrastinating in 30 days.
Oh my goodness, Patty. I can't wait to dig in because there's someone out there right now that needs to hear your story of overcoming adversity, of navigating change, cure the currents, the turbulence, the chaos. They need to hear that. And I can't wait to dig in to your system. Now, before we get into the great stuff, I have a segment called Spill the Tea. And this is a surprise. You didn't know I was going to ask this, but essentially, I need to know, where are you located now and what are you doing in that location? Talk to me.
So I'm a world traveler. My parents lived like in the same house for decades in Colombia. Everyone's like, you die and you marry the next door neighbor and then you die in the same house. And I always wanted to travel the world. So we moved from Colombia to the US, and then I had a chance to go and lived in London for a year and then Australia for 5 years. But then after that, I thought, you know what? I want to see more places. And so right now, I'm in Bali, Indonesia.
Mi casa.
Be- yes. So I just been to Australia. I'm in Bali. I'm gonna be in Bali for a few weeks, and then I'm gonna be moving to Malaysia, hopefully next. So that's where I am right now.
Wow, you really are a world traveler, keeping it moving. And speaking of keeping it moving, I want to know what. Talk to me. So you shared your journey. I want to hear about the journey to you being a coach, serving others, helping them with their leadership, helping them with their ADHD, their procrastination, and the key word I heard: 30 days. Come on now.
I know. So let me then just tell you why 30 days.
Okay.
I, back then when I felt stuck and I was lost and I didn't know why I was not taking action, I started looking for resources, right? I bought books that I never read, or if I did read, I never implemented. I started listening to other people's chats and webinars, which was really good information, but it didn't change. It's like I didn't implement that. It's like, oh my goodness, that's so good. And then I will forget 30 seconds later. So that was not enough. I then started going to therapy. And I love therapy, and I've been in therapy on and on my whole life. I really recommend it. But it was 1 hour a week. So that was not enough. And then I hired a coach, and the coach was amazing, but it was 1 hour a week. So I thought, I am not changing. And I don't know you, Larry, but I'm a giver. And I used to say yes to everything. Oh, yes, let me help you. Coworkers, family, my son, like everyone but me. And I was like last on my list. And I decided, if I'm not strong enough myself, I cannot give the best of myself to others. So I decided to take back then 30 days for myself. I decided for 30 days, I'm going to put myself as a priority and I'm going to learn. So the first week of my 30 days, I decided to search the why behind it. Why is it that I know exactly what to do? I'm not doing it. So, because unless you change the core of the problem, you're going to continue doing it. And you're going to hear a lot of procrastination experts or coaches. And I'm like the opposite. People said, no, just buy a calendar, a planner, a to-do list. And those are good tools. But if you're full of fear, or if you're anxious and you're depressed, there's no calendar that is going to help you, because you're not going to be able to move. So during those 30 days, I decided, first, I need to find the real reason of my procrastination. And then I created a plan on my week 2. And then on week 3, I decided to jump into emotional intelligence, because we're all born with an IQ, right? Like in intelligence quotient. We're smart or not. And in the past, we've been told that if you have a high IQ, oh my goodness, you're going to make it. But it happens that that's not true. It happens that there's something called EQ, that stands for emotional intelligence. And it's been proven that 85% of your success, 85% of your success comes from EQ, not from IQ.
Wow.
I learned that. I'm like, oh, and I can develop EQ, emotional intelligence? Yes, please. So I started my 3rd week of my process of growth. I decided to grow on emotional intelligence. And then on week 4, I created a map to guide me into my next steps on how to make things happen. Why did I want it to be in 5 years? And if that was the case, what did I need to do in 3 years, in 1 year? And so what do I need to do on a daily basis if I want to be there at that point? So those 30 days transformed my life. And when I do it with others, and they're like, of course, 30 days, they change. And I'm like, oh my goodness, once again, it changed because you can get stronger in very little time as long as you find your real reasons. As long as you actually go deep and find the why behind it. Once you find that, it's like, okay, now I'm ready to be who I'm meant to be. So 30 days because that's what I did years ago. And yes, it works because it's very intentional. It's like every single day. It's not only 1 hour a week. It's like every day you're working towards that. So that's the reason.
Wow, I'm gonna dig in because this sounds good in theory, but I think that our viewers, for those folks that are tuning in live, thank you for joining us. For those folks that are watching this on the replay, the recording, thank you for joining us. And I'm looking for what immediate steps would you recommend if I'm a lead generation rep, a SDR, sales development rep, a BDR, business development rep, and my job every day is to pick up this 500-pound phone. And you mentioned it. I've got the fear, I've got the uncertainty, I've got the doubt, the overwhelm, the anxiety. I don't want to pick it up anymore. What is practical advice that you would give me to have success? How can I be successful, Paty?
Yes, I know. And I'm gonna tell you before responding to that question. Let me tell you what my cycle was before. So there's something called the cycle of procrastination.
Okay.
I used to be in sales. So I used to be a real estate agent for a long time. And I would wake up every morning and say, you know what? I'm going to call 10 people today. 10 people is my target. But deep inside, I had a fear of rejection. What if they hang up the phone? What if they think, oh, she's so pushy? What if they think wrongly of me? Fear of the unknown, fear of failure, fear of judgment. So I would say, okay, very good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to call, but I was anxious. But before, let me check social media really quick.
Okay.
And oh my goodness, so-and-so got married and they didn't invite me. Oh my goodness, let me check who went. Click, 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 click. And it was 30 minutes, 1 hour. So what I was doing there is I was replacing the anxiety with pleasure.
Yep.
But the problem is after the pleasure comes guilt. Anxiety, pleasure, guilt, and then it becomes again an even higher anxiety. So for those who are listening to us, I know the feeling because it's like it's not only you and the phone or somebody on the other line, it's you and yourself.
Yep.
And trying to avoid the pain of whatever the other person will bring, rejection or failure or whatever it is. Yep. So step number one, at least for me, this is kind of my first secret, the first step of my secrets on how to overcome procrastination. I'll give you a few secrets. So the first one is to be honest. What do you mean, Paty? To be honest? To be honest with yourself.
That's right.
You have no idea how many people come to me and they're like, oh, Paty, I would love your help. I mean, my life is not that bad. It's okay. I get by. So we tend to avoid looking badly. And so we're like, oh, it's not too bad. But unless we accept that it's affecting us in our lives, we cannot change. We cannot change what we don't acknowledge. So that's secret number one. To be honest with yourself. This is not working. Why? And takes me to secret number two. You need to dig into why is it? Why is it that is not having the result that should have? Why is it that I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, or that moment of fear, why is that taking me to? For example, I have a former client that said, Patty, I grew up with a very difficult parents. And every time they would say, you're never going to make it, similar to my story. So every time she was going to make a call, she said she had those voices. You're never going to make it.
Wow.
So she would freeze. And she did not know why until we sat down and then just, made like a little heart operation. And then she discovered those words had been chasing her during all of her life. So it was only then when she was able to free from it. So be honest. Second, find the real reason why you're in that position. Where is that fear coming from? And next is I have something that I call the EQ superpower. And the EQ superpower is the emotional intelligence superpower. Basically, emotional intelligence is the awareness of your emotions and the regulation of your emotions.
Okay.
It's not only to know that I'm afraid, is to be able to, how do you manage that in a way that does not affect your action? How do you control that? And not only fear, you know what I found recently? Many people come to me with anger, and we don't know it's there. But if you start like looking, that anger can be so damaging, because not only to yourself, but you start like refusing to do certain things because you're upset with the world or your parents or with your ex-partner or your kids or whatever else, or with yourself. So that's my third secret is find your EQ superpower, meaning develop your knowledge on emotional intelligence so that not only you can have awareness of your emotions, but especially know how to regulate them.
Ooh, that's powerful right there. I love it. We got to be honest with ourselves. We can't fool ourselves. Finding the root cause, finding that real reason, digging in, and then superpowers, finding our
EQ superpower.
oh my
And
goodness.
lastly is find an expert to help you. Find a coach. Find a coach to help you navigate through this. Because you know what, Larry, for the longest time, I was like, oh, I can do it on my own, research. But to find an expert on the field to help you see the things that you don't see yourself is a blessing. Is actually the way to get there quicker. So that would be my last secret is find professional help.
That's powerful right there. And I think there's a saying that says if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, you better mount up with a coach, a mentor, a teammate. Oh my
Yes.
goodness. I appreciate you sharing that, Patty. Now I am curious from what you've seen, what are some of the reasons why, especially sales professionals, why they procrastinate?
Yeah. So it's sales is such a beautiful process, because the first step is you sell to yourself.
Ooh.
And you need to be in such a good place of confidence. And then fear comes. And then doubt comes. So I would say, at least it wasn't myself and most of the people that I work with, fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of the unknown, and a lot of anxiety that can take over. Anxiety and the feeling of overwhelm is a big one, because you have so much on your plate, you don't even know where to start. I used to have days that I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm so busy today.
Yeah.
So I froze. I did nothing. So that is what's important to realize what's happening. Most of it is fear, and it's ourselves, our own doubts. I used to play songs in my head of positive words about myself because I found that I was my worst enemy. I was saying things about me that were so not like I was. I'm like, why am I saying that? And that was a shocking process for me. I started doing a journal process of the words that I would say to myself during the day. In the morning, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. Oh, I'm so tired. I'm not that smart anyway. People, I don't know if they would like me or not. And then all of a sudden, like when I looked at my journal, I'm like, 90% of these words are negative about myself. And I decided to change that. So that's one thing that I just share with my students. We start with writing a long list of your positive attributes and say it out loud and reminding yourself that you are powerful, that you're intelligent, that you're likable. If you like yourself, people will like yourself too. And I generally finish with, you are enough.
Ooh.
You are enough. I don't need anyone's approval. I don't, because I have my own approval. I'm happy with myself. And if you don't like it, well, that's your problem. I like myself. And then that brings confidence and that brings people to me. And if I'm happy with myself, it just, sales is just transmission of emotions. That's all it is. If, for example, if I'm going to go and buy to a Mexican restaurant, let's say,
Yeah.
and you ask me, Patty, how was it? And I'm like, yeah, it was good. It was a good restaurant. You'll be like, okay, you might not go. But if I come to you and I'm like, oh my goodness, I just went to the best restaurant I've ever been.
Yep.
It's just around the corner. It's cheap, best food ever. Would you go?
Yeah.
100%. You'll be like, okay, where is it? It's just emotions. It's transmission of emotions. So if you are in a good, safe, confident place, your emotions are going to reflect to the other person on the other side of the phone.
That's powerful right there. You don't need anyone else's approval. Sales being the transfer of emotions. I love that. What are some of the misconceptions? What are some of the things that folks really get wrong when it comes to procrastination? Which I'm an expert. What are some of those things that we might be wrong on in terms of how we perceive?
Yeah, so basically people think like the old methods, or what people still do is, for example, New Year's resolutions. We're in January. Most people are like, oh, here my this year is what I'm going to do. So lists are worth nothing if
Wow.
you're not ready in your heart. Calendars or planners, like I remember buying a beautiful planner every single year, beginning of the year, colors and phrases and quotes. And it would be like beautiful for like 2 or 3 days. And then, it was on the side. So, oh my goodness. So the work needs to start within,
Wow.
in your heart, in your mind. The other stuff, they're good tools, but they're just tools. We need to start with resetting our heart and resetting our mind so that we believe in the truth of who we are.
Wow. Wow. Now, I wrote a book as well, Patty, called Jolt. And chapter 1 talks about what story are you telling yourself
Wow.
and believing, which it sounds like that is very important to you, that we control the narrative. Now, I'm
Yeah.
curious because sales is tough. It's not a 4-letter word, but it'll make you say some 4-letter words.
It's true.
Any recommendations for sales professionals that are out there right now? I mean, I know that you gave us the 4 steps, four out of your steps of being honest and finding the root cause, the real reason, finding your EQ superpower, and most importantly, finding a coach, a mentor,
Yes.
a Sherpa. And for those folks, let's say I don't have the funds, I'm blowing on a budget, I can't afford a coach, I don't know where to start as a mentor. What do you recommend I start doing immediately that might be a tip, a trick that's low cost or even no cost?
Yes, absolutely. Well, there's a lot of resources out there, and resources are good. Like sometimes there's too much, but find something or somebody that you actually relate to,
Yep.
and not only read about them or read what they say, but create a daily plan. Because again, dreams with no action are just dreams. So create, even if you like, overwhelm is a big part of procrastination because we have so much to do and so much to read and so much plus kids and work, etc. So just make keep it simple. Keep it simple. But even if you do one action, important action every day, one action a day will bring you the sense of control and confidence. So I I went to school and I was good in sports, but then I didn't do sports for a long time. And one day I thought, I'm going to go to the gym. Oh, the treadmill. Oh, that's easy. I see people there like for hours. Oh my goodness. I lasted 5 minutes. I'm like, oh, this is hard. And I just went home. But listen, I didn't feel like a failure because I was just there for 5 minutes. I thought, whoa, I was there 5 minutes. Tomorrow I'm going to go for 6.
Wow.
And the next day I'm going to go for 7. And now I can be like the other people, that you see them for an hour or whatever. So start small. So even for a little bit, one action a day that can be something you can feel proud of, just start there. You don't have to do it all in one day. Just start little, and just look for some inspiration somewhere.
Ooh, where does your inspiration come from?
Oh, I love reading. Well, first, I'm a believer, so God brings me everything I need on a daily basis. But I love reading because I believe reading or listening to podcasts are, I don't know it all. I need people that have done it in a different way or are ahead of me so that I can learn from them. I heard one time something that I thought it was really good. Smart people learn from other people's mistakes. Not so smart people, they learn from their own mistakes.
Wow.
And really dumb people don't even learn from their own mistakes. So I want to be the smart people to learn from other people's mistakes. So I read a lot what other people have been through. I listen to podcasts so I can learn and be better and better every day.
Wow, that's powerful, and you're spot on. I've heard that there's 2 ways to learn. You can learn from mistakes, which I have certainly made my fair share of mistakes. I've been
Yeah.
knocked over the head with a baseball bat. I've been knocked out before. Mama said knock you
Yep.
out with the boxing gloves. For my folks that are on audio, I've got a set of boxing gloves and a baseball bat.
Yeah, I love it.
But yeah, you can learn from making your own mistakes or you can learn from mentors. And it sounds like the
Yes.
smart move is to learn from someone else's mistakes. I love it. I love it. I'm curious, what's your most memorable, your most favorite success story of working with someone that's gone from where they were to where they were able to progress? You care to share any stories around some successes that you've had with clients?
100%. There's so many, it's hard to choose from one specific one. And I'm just very blessed because my program system really, really works. So like in days, they're like, oh my goodness, I feel so different. But there was a specific lady I'm going to share with you. She was actually in sales and she was working remote at home. So I meet with people for the first time, and I'm going to open this invitation to everyone listening to this. Just send me a text message, and then we'll just meet because I want to hear your story. Even if you don't, come to my program, even if you don't join me, I love to help people. So I had an appointment with this lady, and I remember it was 5 minutes late, 10 minutes late. And in my house, they said, oh, she didn't connect. You should disconnect. And I'm like, oh, that's a shame she didn't connect. I kept my iPhones, but I forgot to disconnect from the Zoom link. So I started doing other things. 35 minutes later, she's like, hello. I'm like, hello? Oh, you joined. And she said, I'm so sorry. I'm always late. And I am very, very depressed.
Oh
She
no.
said, I work from home. I need to make a lot of calls. I'm not making the calls. And the calls that I do make are not going well because I am just not feeling well with myself. And
Mm.
she's like, I spend a lot of my day looking at them at the wall, just gone. And she had a baby back then, 3 years old. And I said to her, so what's your dream? And she said, I would love to have a business myself to sell t shirts while I do my work. And we started working just days into it. And she texts me a message and she's like, oh my goodness, today's the first day that I feel hopeful. I'm like, hope is good. So we created a a strategy, daily strategy on how to wake up, what time to wake up, what time to go to sleep, believe it or not. That affects our daily performance. What to think, what not to think, what actions she needed to take. And then in less than 30 days, she started selling. She became top sales in her job.
Wow.
And not only that, but she opened her own business as well. And at the end of the year, I said Merry Christmas, and she said, Patty, you changed my life. And I didn't change her life. She changed her life.
That's right.
And that for me, every time somebody says that, it's just, it's powerful. That's what I do. So if you're out there and you're ready to change your life, that's the mission that God-given mission for me is just to help people go to the other side where they want to be.
Wow, that's amazing. And for my folks that are tuning in on wherever you grab your podcast, you're not able to see the screen. Connect with Paty in two places. LinkedIn, where she's linkedin.com/Paty Johnston coach, or feel free to text Paty at 813-789-1097. Let's make sure that we connect with, that we show support for all of the great work that Paty is doing. Now, I am curious because you're doing so much. You've been so many places. Oh my goodness, you are the most interesting person in the world.
To myself, I am.
Nah, to all of us. But how do you integrate? How do you combine the leadership coaching that you're doing with the strategies that you're doing around the fixing procrastination in 30 days? How do they overlap? Do they overlap? Are they kind of two separate buckets, or does it all fit together?
It all fits together. So, a long time ago, somebody asked me, this is way before COVID or technology. They asked me, so what would it be your ideal life? And I said, my ideal life will be to help people with my job and to be able to travel at the same time. Hello, that's what I'm doing now. So my life is I do travel to different countries, and my goal is to visit every country around the world. So that's why I'm going to the countries I have not been before. But then I actually meet with people. My program is an online program, so people can just take it on their own, but they're accountable to me daily. And that's what's different. I not only you learn, not only you change, but you're accountable, because if you no one knows that you're supposed to be doing something, then you're like, oh well, I didn't do it. You can easily fail the promises that you make to yourself. But I'm here. If you tell me, this is what I do. If you tell me you're gonna start exercising, you need to take a picture of your tennis shoes by the park and text it to me. If you tell me that you're going to call 10 people, 100 people, you need to send me the log and show me what you did and how you did it and how you felt about it. So it's a very accountable process, because I believe that accountability is key. So while I travel, I receive text messages from my students, and I have group chats and group meetings every week, so I can just be of support of them. So yes, you can do it all.
Wow, I love to hear that. And for all of our smilers, dialers, supporters, folks that are adding value from a sales capacity, SDR, BDR, account executive, enterprise account executive, I hope you are listening closely, because Paty is giving you the keys to the kingdom on how you can create a vision and how you can really step into, lean in, and accomplish that vision and your goals. She's a living example. Living example. Now,
Yes.
you mentioned before that you've got a sales background, you real estate agent. What?
Yeah, so basically this is what happened when I told you the story that I opened my own business as a single mom with $2,000. I sold it for good money. So I started investing in real estate, that money. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to get a real estate license just
Okay.
to see how I go. And my broker said, oh, Paty, it's going to take you a long time, because I lived in Tampa, Florida back then. And he said, there are 44,000 realtors in Tampa. 44,000. So this is a very competitive market. It's just not, it's going to take you a long time, maybe a year to kind of start your business. Okay. I'm like, okay. He didn't know I had a system. So I'm like, let me see how I go. And I got ranked, Larry, my first year in the business, I got ranked number 10 out of the 44,000. I
Wow.
couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. So this is exactly why I'm so excited about me teaching to others that it works. When you work in yourself first, the sales happen. And like my life sounds very exciting, oh my goodness, traveling and helping, but reality, there was a point in my life that I felt defeated, and there was a point in my life where I doubted myself, and I breached the promises that I made to myself. And so there was a moment of decision.
Wow.
I would continue to be a victim of, and I grew up also in a very, alcoholics around me, very toxic environment. And my whole life I was like, well, but with my upbringing, I don't know. And look at me, the things that were told to myself. So I could have continued being a victim or a victor. Change of mindset. I'm now a victor. And then my results followed after I made that decision. So again, emotional intelligence.
Wow.
If
Wow.
I was able to do it, anyone can.
Goodness gracious. Now, from your studies, from your observations, from your experience, because what we're seeing is across all industries, technology is playing a major part. Sometimes in a good way, sometimes wah wah. in a not so good way, whether it's chat GPT, whether it's analytics, whether it's efficiency tools, you name it. There's a
Yes,
tool or an app for everything.
everything.
From your perspective, what are you seeing being close to the ground, the impact that technology is having?
Yeah, it's so interesting. Technology is beautiful, but it could be a problem as well. And it's tied to overwhelmingly, all the things that are there for us to utilize. We don't even know where to start. So, what I say is, again, it starts from the heart. If you're at peace with yourself,
Yeah.
then you can have the clarity to choose what's best for you. You don't have to use it all. Because I have ADD, like I'm like here and there and there. And so I learned that I choose one thing at a time. What is the one technology that can work and help me at this moment in my life? And then I adapt it. And once I master it or decide that's not it, then I choose the next one. Because if we're not good here, we're going to try everything and say, "Oh, it didn't work." When the root of the problem of or the matter is really on ourselves, our heart, our mindset. That is it.
Wow, that's amazing. It starts with self, it starts with our heart. Oh, to allow us
Yes.
to have that impact. That is spot on. Now, I'm curious, what's your big vision in 2024? It sounds like you've got travel, sounds like you've got impact. What else is going big in this new year for Paty Johnston?
Yes, so I am going to continue doing what I do best and I love to do, and is helping others, being on the other side. Every time I talk to somebody on the phone for the first time, I'm like, oh, that was so me, and I know. Like somebody asked me a couple of weeks ago, Patty, isn't it tiring that you meet with so many people that are anxious or that are like down when they meet with you? And I said, that is very interesting because I don't see them as today. I see them and I'm like, I know how great you're going to be. So I'm actually happy for them. They don't see it. I see that for them. So that's my plan. I want to see many, many, many of those faces being transformed and being changed. My goal for this year is to visit, to reach the 100 countries of my personal life, and then
How
to
many are you at now?
I am about an 80. I haven't counted them, but I'm around 80. So this is another year of traveling and continue helping people. And then, obviously what's more important, God, me, and then family, and then everything else.
Wow, wow. And I'm curious, do you work with a coach as well?
100%. A coach that doesn't have a coach is not a good coach. Yes, I do. Everything I say, I started with myself. I actually have two coaches, and because I believe in coaching, and if I want to be in my next level or better as a person, I need to have somebody that has been there and that can help me see the things that I don't see. So 100%, I have a coach, two
That,
coaches.
that's that is powerful. And,
Yes.
and speaking of powerful, I would love to know, and I've got two final questions. I'm going to stack them up before we kind of wrap. But if someone is noodling and they want to be a coach, they want to be just like you, Patty, where do they get started? Yeah, we'll go with that. I'll ask the next one after your answer to this one. Where do I start if I want to be a coach?
Oh my goodness, that is such a beautiful question, because I actually help a lot of coaches or coaches that want to be coaches,
Okay.
because we all have a story, and many people want to help others with their story. So I was there at some point, and I love to show people. I have resources on where to start with coaching, coaches that help coaches. But if you have that in your heart, if you think you can impact on others with what you know, just text me. We'll create a plan, and then I'll send you to different resources and different people. That is, to me, the most unselfish thing to do, because being a coach, it's like being in sales. People see like, oh, that's so cool. Well, there's a process to it, and there's a lot of sales behind coaching as well. Most coaches that come to me, they're either they just starting or they're not doing well. They're like, well, my love for people, and that's a good part, but you need to sell to the people that you love. It's just sales is in everything. So that's part of, again, mindset, and then just being ready to share with others our emotions, and selling is part of it. So yes, that's the most unselfish things to do, not keep what you know to yourself, but share it with others. So if you are ready for a coaching career, I would love to help you. I'll guide you. Just text me at 813-789-1097.
Oh, that's amazing. Sharing is caring. Now, will you share with us? I'm sure I'm not the only one who's curious. What's the most common question, the most common problem that you see when working with your clients? And what's your answer? How do you, that number one most common kind of issue? Paty, help! What is it and how do you solve it?
I don't have time, is what most people come to me and say. Paty, I have so much to do, but I don't have time. But reality is, we all have time.
That's right.
We just have all these ideas in the background. That's one. So it's basically what I call, one of my favorite words is empowered. And empower means with power. And you can only have power when you have control. When you have control of your thoughts, your emotions, your time, your actions, your future. So when somebody comes to me and say, I don't have time, that doesn't mean that they really don't have time. It's that they don't have control of the time they have.
Wow.
There was a time in my life that I felt life was leaving me. I was not living my life. I was like here, there, all appointments. And here it's like, oh my goodness, this was such a long day and I didn't do much. So what happened is I was giving the control I had of my actions and my time to others or to anything else. So that's the one thing. We regain the power through controlling our time, our actions, and we do have time. So that's what I teach.
Wow. And unfortunately, we're at closing time. But in the words of that great song, I've got the power. Oh my goodness. Paty Johnston, you are amazing. Please, for all of our listeners, support Paty. Find her on LinkedIn, follow her, connect with her, message her, send her a text, 813-789-1097. That's 1097. And let's make sure that we stay in touch. Paty, any last words, any last comments to share with our listeners, our viewers? Thank you so much for really dropping the mic. So many gems, so much great insight. What's one last parting shot that you've got?
Oh, I'm going to say, in spite of what you think about yourself, your background, the negative words that you might have in the back of your mind, you can do it. You can change your life. Everything that is out there that you think you want, you can get it. You just need to start with step number one, which is deciding you want it and you want to change. And don't let yourself down when you can have it all. It's just one step at a time. And if you need any help, I'm here, but you can do it.
Oh, wow. That's so heartwarming. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for caring. Thank you for giving life to all of our listeners, all of our viewers, and to me, being selfish. This was an amazing conversation. On behalf of us all, we thank you so much, Paty. We wish you all the best, continued success, just beautiful travels across the world. Now, for all of our listeners and viewers, thank you for tuning in. This is a reminder to join us next Wednesday, same bat place, same bat time. And next Wednesday, I guess we'll call it the day of the Cold Calling Podcast Love. Yeah, it's February 14th. Cupid is in the air. Woo! We're going to see you back at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, 10 o'clock a.m. Pacific Time. I don't know what time it's going to be in Indonesia, but please there. We're going to welcome another truly special guest. Surprise! It's Amy Miller. Let's go. So we wish you happy selling and all the best. We'll see you next Wednesday. Bye for now, y'all. Thank you for tuning in.